What's up, spooky buttercups? Welcome back to my channel. Today's book review is Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. Love that cover. This is the first book in the Hannibal Lecter book series, which has 4 books total, though I've heard that it's a trilogy, so I'm a little confused, though then again, you know, if Thomas Harris wants to write a 4th book, and I think that's what he did, then it's a 4-book series, not a trilogy anymore. We love to see it. You keep on going, dude. I didn't know this was the first book in the series for years, but my husband told me that Silence of the Lambs is actually book 2, so my mind was blown for a solid 2 minutes. Yeah. And then we watched all of the movies that are out. Some, of course, were better than others. Let's not go down that road because this is a book review on the first book. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. And I'll go into why a bit later, but let's jump into a quick summary, which is the blurb on the back of the cover. And it's great. It's straight to the point and accurate. And we love to see an accurate book blurb. And you would say, Nicole, why would you say that? There are, unfortunately, a lot of book blurbs that are just not accurate to the book. Tell me how I know. It's been happening a lot this year in particular. Don't ask me why, but nailed it with this one. When he was an FBI agent, Will Graham risked his sanity to capture Dr. Hannibal Lecter, an ingenious killer like no other. Now Graham is following the blood-stained pattern of the Tooth Fairy, a madman who's already wiped out 2 families. To find him, Graham has to understand him. To understand him, Graham has only one place left to go, the mind of Dr. Lecter. So the killer, who is not Hannibal Lecter, is very interesting because he's not, I would say, a psychopath. He has feelings for people at the end. There's a kinda, sorta redemption arc in some weird way, which is fascinating. So I was thinking he was a sociopath, and that, I think, fits way better. He was made, though you could see early on in childhood that he has a lot of issues, like lack of empathy, anger issues, violent tendencies, impulse control. However, the thing with sociopaths is that if you have a stable life, you can absolutely follow the law and live a fairly normal life. But Dollarhide's childhood was not stable whatsoever. So it was full of instability, religious abuse, emotional and physical abuse, and unfortunately he was set up for failure. But all that to say, I asked my mom, who's been a psychotherapist for over 25 years and has worked with many people, and she's the professional, so I defer to her, even though she's taught me most things about the umbrella of psychology. And when I called her up, explained the situation, her answer was, no matter what, it's all about 3 things: genetics, environment, and nurture. So psychopaths and sociopaths have issues with all 3. That's always a thing. So he is a sociopath, and you can have exceptions, of course, because people are complicated. I'm not going to spoil the end. So like there is a kind of sort of redemption arc, but then there's not. But there's only really a redemption arc for one particular person, and that's who he has some type of feelings for, but it's not a normal type of feeling, but he's still feeling things, which is very interesting. And of course, you're not going to get a fully fleshed out sociopath on paper because you really need to look at that person's whole entire life, detail to detail, and have that DSM-5 open, checking off everything there is to match up, and also like talking to a lot of other professionals for their opinion, because yeah, like I said, people are very complicated. He best fits sociopath. Now, if there was like a full write-up of every single year of Dollarhide's life, then maybe that would change, but the best diagnosis would be sociopath, and he also has psychosis issues. Yes, he does. I'm sure he has a lot of other things. He does also have social anxiety. Just saying up front that characters in books are not real people, and it's even hard for, you know, professionals that have worked decades with sociopaths and psychopaths to like hit the nail on the head without working with that person for hours upon hours or days, weeks, months to really nail it, so to speak. So that's the best I got for you, but it's still really fascinating, all things about Dollarhide. We know what Hannibal Lecter is, like he's still fascinating, but that's pretty straightforward. Bro, you eat people, okay? Like, there's some stuff going on. Okay. But Dollarhide, yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. He's in, like, the little bubble of messed up people, but he's not on the same level as Dr. Hannibal Lecter. Of course, there always will be different levels to people because everyone's different. But like seeing the differences of how Dollarhide and Lecter moved about in their messed upness. That's not a word, but I made it up, so it's okay. Now, going a little deeper, just a little bit, I really like the writing style. It's straightforward, but great detail, and I think it's really smooth. It's a quick read, even though there's a lot of dark things in there. You just want to know more. I think the writing style fits with the serial killer suspense genre, of which I've been told many times in many places that Thomas Harris either started the serial killer suspense genre or made it really popular and therefore then pushed it into the zeitgeist. I also really liked the main character, Will Graham. Jack Crawford was also interesting, but not as much as Will. And of course, we get a few glimpses of Hannibal Lecter, but don't expect too much from him, unlike in the movies where he shows up all the time in the movies. He's in a couple of scenes, but he is not the main focus. It is really about Will Graham and Jack and even Will's family and just the FBI agency assigned to figuring out who the Tooth Fairy is and capturing him. That's the main focus. Hannibal Lecter is helping in some form or another, but not as much as you would see in Manhunter or Red Dragon. It's 2 movies based on this book. Red Dragon has Edward Norton and Anthony Hopkins, so that's the most popular one that we talk about. But then Manhunter is from the 80s, and I forget the actor's name who plays Hannibal Lecter, but it's in my mind. Brian. Oh, I think, like, from the clips that I've seen on YouTube, he does a great job, but Hannibal Lecter is way different in Manhunter because, of course, it's a different actor. But that actor plays Hannibal a little more normal. Not so. Anthony Hopkins, he did a fantastic job. Amazing. Should have gotten nominated and won for a bunch of things. But like Hannibal Lecter, his version is very haunting and creepy, and you can tell something is different. You don't know what, but something's different, something's off. Whereas in Manhunter, he's kinda sorta like an everyday type of person. And so Anthony Hopkins and Hannibal Lecter is off-putting and something's up, versus the other Hannibal Lecter in Manhunter, you would probably be more drawn in and you would find him more relatable because he's not creepy, like haunting, standing really still and just like staring at you. At least from what I've seen in the clips, he's more agile, he moves around, and he uses a lot of body movement when he's talking, and his face moves, whereas Anthony Hopkins, he's like pretty still. He does stare at you a lot, doesn't blink a lot either, so that also is like, ooh, that's really weird. Who I pictured Hannibal Lecter, it is Anthony Hopkins. That is kind of a given. I've seen Hannibal Lecter in the form of Anthony Hopkins for far too long to not picture him in this novel. Sorry, but it is what it is, right? So all in all, this is a solid serial killer suspense novel. It, like I said, reads very fast. This copy, it's mass market paperback. I think it's about 430 pages, but I finished it in a couple of days because, like I said, the storytelling is really well done. And I did connect with Will, even though, like, he is not, in a sense, relatable to me in my personal life. However, for me, I don't need to relate or see myself in the main character to connect with them. I need them to be interesting. And Will Graham is very, very interesting. And I thought that this ending was interesting in regards to his girlfriend. It's different from in the movie, but basically everything else is pretty much the same other than Will's relationship. Like, it's the same in the beginning, and then by the middle and the end, it's a bit different. I like both versions though, so I'm not going to pick which one is better. I think both are pretty good. Thank you so much for watching my non-spoilerly book review on Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!